I actually run a biodiesel company. It started 5 years ago. It was actually brought me a lot of insight about how and why sustainability was actually important. And today I hope to share with you guys perhaps some insights that I came across and some ideas that we could really look into probably in the next 10 years. Now, I had a chance meeting with Peter Schwartz. Does anybody know who he is? He's a very well-known futurist, and really what a futurist does is think about the future and create scenarios about how human beings can exist in the world in 2050, 2060, and things like that. And he pointed out a very interesting fact, is that in the last 10 years, the planet has seen a whole scenario of escalating crisis. And each one is more complex than the last one. Really, if you start thinking from September 11, 2001 to now 10 years, how many crises have you already seen? I can just list a few. Now, we start with September 11. And then because of September 11, we had a war, right? And then the war thing continued with Afghanistan, Iraq, and then right until now, we're still trying to deal with it. The world is still trying to deal with it. And then in the middle of trying to deal with all this, we also have a situation where places are flooding, right? That we have Katrina coming in, and we have a few typhoons that came in even to Myanmar. People died, lose their lives, lose their houses and stuff. And coupled with those things happening, we have earthquakes, Sichuan earthquake, the earthquake in Japan, right? The next thing we know, financial crisis. So we have to deal with terrorism, we have to deal with a war, we have to deal with cyclones, hurricanes, earthquakes, and then we have to deal with nuclear, all within the last 10 years. While we sit in this room in a very nice, secure environment in Singapore, the whole world is going through this complex problem of trying to deal with one problem, one crisis, and as the crisis is still developing, the next one happens. And what does it mean to all of us human beings and people like you and me? It's that our world gets very cluttered and complex, not because of the way we want it to be, but because it's just the way the world is. And compared to this, images like this may be less important, right? Climate change, we can still deal with it after the crisis ends. We can solve the financial crisis, then we deal with climate change. We can solve the earthquake problem and then the Fukushima issues, then we go back to talk about climate change. We can continue to stay status quo about the situation that we are in with regards to global warming and all these issues while we try to solve the rest of the crisis. But I guess the fact is that we cannot do this anymore. Many people have the idea that we can worry about all these issues later, right? The rising global temperature, emissions issues, the pollution issues that we have. These are things that we can think about later, right? For all you guys who are still undergrads, probably the idea is, well, let me graduate first, and then I can get a job. Let me get a job first, then I'll deal with it. And then when you get a job, let me find a house first, then I'll deal with it. And then when we have a house, let me have a kid first, then we'll deal with it. And when you have a kid, you say, oh, let the kid grow up, then we can deal with it. By the time the kid grows up, wow, let the kid handle it. And I can assure you that many of us think the same way. How do we approach the idea of sustainability when we're in such a very, very complex world? There are many global leaders who come up with fabulous ideas: Kyoto Protocol, green initiatives, carbon trading, all sorts of new technology, renewable energies and stuff like that. And it all deals with the idea that we can do things with big impact only with big people or the big governments, big corporations, big MNCs. So for example, we try to provide clean water for everyone to drink, right? So this is a very important thing. Clean drinking water is official right. It's a right for everyone, every human being on earth. And therefore, in trying to create that, we have created plastic bottled water, which is fabulous. All of you have a plastic bottle on your table. You take it, you bring it anywhere, you open the cap, and it's clean drinking water. It's a fabulous idea, right? The water bottle companies love the idea, they sell tons and tons of water like that. And the next thing you know, in trying to create water bottles to put water for you to have safe drinking water, we create this, which is pollution because, well, the water bottles keep getting thrown away, gets into the sea, gets into the ocean, gets into all the beautiful places that you want to be in. And suddenly people say, okay, we'll put a stop to it. Okay, so we have to stop the drinking clean water problem by creating water bottles, and then we create pollution and says, okay, now we have to solve that problem. So again, people start to say, oh, we can recycle these bottles. Let's recycle this. Let's collect all the bottles, spend some time, energy, and resources to crush that bottles into chips, and then we make new bottles again. Wow, what a wonderful idea. So we started things like this. This is in China. They call it social recycling, meaning people actually make money out of doing this in this huge quantity. People go around the streets picking up bottles like this. And then we accumulate things like this. And then, even better still, the European countries, the far more advanced countries, say, wow, we could even automate the idea of new recycling bottles. You put this into the hole in the middle, and then some computer gadgets will happen, and then you get a refund of 2 euros, 20 cents euro. But really, does it really solve the problem? Actually, the real problem that they were trying to solve is just to provide clean drinking water for people. So this whole idea of recycling may actually have to warrant some kind of thinking, right? Do we really need to sit in this room to drink bottled water where the tap water in Singapore is drinkable? Have you ever thought about that? And have you ever thought about how we can actually make clean drinking water available to everyone on Earth without using plastic? That is to say, we have to change the paradigm about how we do things. Now, really, about 20 million tons of plastic rubbish is being transported from one place to another place. If you read the internet a little bit more, you realize that about 30% of those plastics are contaminated beyond recycling, and many of the times this recycling actually happen in a very pollutive environment. So it costs time. It costs us carbon, it costs us energy just to recycle plastic. Now, if we could rethink and reprioritize and have some resolution about what we could do with a simple problem of providing water. Say we have to provide water for the developing countries. Simple ideas like providing water bottles, that is a rethinking of how we could contain water, right? Plastic. Reusable bottles at this current moment cost next to nothing, really cheap, right? We can provide a lot of this for people to, in developing countries who have no access to water, to actually contain clean water, and the latest technology even allows for bottles like this to come with special coating that can be antibacterial. That is wonderful. Next, can we then implement an infrastructure of having refueling stations all around Singapore, or all around the city, all around your countries? These are just simple things of tapping in, having an elaborate, simple infrastructure of water pipes, and going through and having people start to bottle their own water. And finally, having the resolution of building water plants. Now, we may not see that in Singapore as a very important thing because we switch on the tap and it works. In many countries, it doesn't work, right? In many developing countries, with the availability of bottled water, governments put aside the idea of having their own publicly run, publicly owned water treatment system because it's just too expensive, it's just too difficult. Why not let the private company make a buck of it and continue to do so? Right? These are things that I thought was important in the future. To create a more sustainable society, it doesn't really start with big money, big MNCs, big government. Sometimes simple ideas like this works. Now, really, when we start talking about 3 Rs, all of us know there is recycle, reuse, reduce, and recycle. Everybody just continue to do the same thing, right? We throw the plastic into the correct bin, we give ourselves a pat on the back, and we feel good about it. Do we really know what happens to it? Do we really want to know where it adds up to and what's the global impact on it? Well, some of us do, others may not. But the net effect is people tend to think that when we continue to do this, reuse, reduce, recycle, we are just doing the right thing. But does it warrant some kind of rethinking? And I'm trying to challenge the forum here on a new way of thinking. The new three R's that I'm proposing today will be to rethink, to reprioritize, and to have some resolve. And that is really important. Can we actually rethink our energy needs? Can we actually rethink our climate change issues and have some reprioritization of things? Take for example, you as a graduate, your first priority, the job. The second priority, better job or house, or getting married, stuff like that. The 5 C's, whatever. But can you actually rethink about what is actually very important for you guys about the future? The sustainability of our environment. Can we start to rethink about that as well? Rethink the plastic bottle. Rethink the transport mode. All of us aspire to have a car. Or I do, right? When I was undergrad. But rethinking this really helps. What about reprioritization? Every country currently and every big company, top priority is economic growth. That's always the top. And the market in the world, the open market, the stock market, do not price in the fact that you are carbon friendly, you are future proof. Maybe you are, they price in a little bit for it, but they certainly never price in for the fact that you create a lot of CSR projects, you are actually good for Earth or the humanity. Can companies like this start to reprioritize some of these initiatives? That being the first in the world in terms of economy is not the key thing, but being a leader in humanity, in global warming technologies or measures could be the next thing that countries need to reprioritize. Now, what about resolve? Really, when you can start to wax lyrical about the idea of rethinking and reprioritizing, the whole idea is it will always stay like this if you do not have the resolve to do it. And you see many countries trying to put in a lot of initiatives to be sustainable, to be more, to use more renewable energy and stuff like that, but a lot of them fail. Why? Because when they reach to where it really matters, the pocket, it does not matter, it does not help, right? It does not work because countries just lack resolve.